This is a Livingston Parish Council meeting. Today is November the 7th. It's a little after 6:30 p.m. All right, the invocation tonight will be Tab Bluebell's turn.
Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight and just thank you for the blessings that you continually send our way. Lord, let us give you credit where credit is due and not take those blessings for granted. We just thank you for all you do for us here in this parish. Lord, thank you for those that are willing to serve and do your will here. Just let us have a good meeting with clear heads and just let everything go smoothly this evening. We just thank you for everybody that makes these meetings possible. The soldiers that let us have the freedoms that we so often take for granted. Just thank you for all they do and thank you for your continuing hand upon them. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. All right. Pledge of Allegiance by Mr. Jeff R.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Roll call.
Mr. Watson.
Here.
Mr. Talbert. Mr. Matt.
Here.
Favorite. Mr. Woodville.
Here.
Mr. Harris.
Here.
Mr. Greenhouse.
Here.
Mr. R.
Here.
Mr. King.
We're now going to ask everyone to silence their cell phones so that we don't have any interruptions during the meeting. Pretty please, if you could just put it on vibrate or silence your cell phone, that would very much be appreciated. All right, public input. Anyone wishing to address any of the agenda items, as those agenda items come up, what we can do, or what you can do, is just simply raise your hand like this, and then we'll call upon you, and then you are welcome to come to the podium after we call upon you, and state what you would like to say, and don't forget to state your name and your address, right, so that we can have that on file. Yep. So what we try to do to keep the meetings within a reasonable time frame is we try not to repeat ourselves, and we try to I guess you could say limit your conversation to at least 2 or 3 minutes, right? And if at all possible, that would also very much be appreciated. Okay. Agenda item number 7, presentations. 7A, this is to recognize Sydney Taylor, Miss Louisiana Teen USA 2020. And that'll be, I guess you could say, hosted or coordinated by Mr. Tab Lobel and Mr. Jeff R.
Cindy actually lives in Jeff's district, but she's a friend of ours, so I knew we were going to put this on the agenda. And it's kind of hot when you see Cindy like this all dressed up. I'm used to seeing her covered in dirt playing softball. She's a basketball player, good basketball player, and I can tell you firsthand, she was hard to go on for 2 fine foot. But her and that other one sitting right there, pretty good on it too. But she lives probably less than a mile from where we're standing. And just very proud of her and her accomplishments, being chosen as a type of property. Miss Louisiana Teen USA. And that's just great that you're able to accomplish that. And I know you have more things and more steps to go. And we just cannot use enough love for the next phase. And we're going to do this certificate of recognition from the Livingston Parish Council. Does hereby recognize Ms. Cindy Taylor, the winning of Miss Louisiana Teen USA.
Okay, so we're going to take a picture. All right.
He's here.
In addition to that presentation, also being the presentations is an agenda item, we would like to welcome Mr. Greg Spears to come up to the podium and talk about his candidacy. It's good to see you, Mr. Greg.
Thank the council for having me out tonight. My name is Greg Spears. I'm running for Bessie, the Board of Elementary and Secondary Education. I'm going to run off with Mr. Ronnie Morse from Baton Rouge. And we're out there fighting for our kids. We're fighting for our public schools. And there's a lot of work to do. We've been headed in the wrong direction for about 10 years now. Probably a little more than that, but we've really started speeding up, going downhill in the wrong direction in the last 10 years with bringing on a Common Core in Louisiana, where the State Board of Education has stripped a lot of the local school districts' power from curriculum and discipline, and we're ignoring our teachers. They're out there, they're screaming, trying to give us the solutions, trying to give us the answers to fix what's going on in our schools, and we're ignoring them. We're saying you're a bad teacher because these kids aren't doing well on these dozen standardized tests per year that we're taking in. But not to get into all my campaign points, but this is a huge area that we're covering. The Bessie District covers 400,000 registered voters, 181,000 voted in the primary election, and I'm trying to get my name and my message out there. Trying to fight for our teachers, for our public schools. We want to fix it. We don't want to abandon it to privatization. And we're just out there trying to shake hands and kiss babies and meet everybody we can. Thank y'all for y'all's time.
Thank you, Greg. Good luck. Good luck, Greg. Okay, agenda item number 8, adoption of the minutes from the October 24th, 2019 regular meeting of the council. Is there any discussion from the audience on this particular agenda item? Any from the council? Is there a motion to adopt these minutes?
Motion to accept.
Motion by Jeff Ard, second by Tracy Girlinghouse. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. Agenda item number 9. This is to approve a cooperative endeavor agreement with the city of Walker in regard to Foxglove subdivision and needed traffic safety enhancements, and authorize the parish president to sign an agreement. This is Tracy Girlinghouse's district. So,
Foxglove subdivision was set to go in up north of Walker and down Duff Road. This is something that I was adamantly against from the beginning, and fought as best we could. You know, in the end, they needed to pass the traffic impact study, and they went into an agreement with the city of Walker to update the intersection of Duff Road and Burgess Avenue. They could do this without our approval, but I had put in a stipulation I didn't want the parish to grant permits, housing permits past the 68th house. I think there's 300 plus houses in there, unless that intersection was complete or reasonably complete. So this was agreed upon. So to that end, they want to do a cooperative endeavor with the city of Walker. So I'm inclined to, at the request of the city, to grant that endeavor. So, I would like to make a motion that we grant the waiver for the city of Walker to go into the cooperative endeavor with us in the city to move forward with that.
okay, that sounds good. It's not a waiver, though, is it? You just want to.
No, it's not a waiver.
Okay.
I'm sorry. They just want to do a cooperative endeavor with.
Okay,
with
so we have a
regards to
motion on the
subdivision.
floor by Tracy Girlinghouse to approve a cooperative endeavor agreement with the city of Walker in regards to Foxglove subdivision. Okay, so is there a second? There's a second by Jeff Ard. And is there any discussion from the audience on this particular agenda item? Any more from the council?
Mr. Moody has reviewed it and spoken.
Yes.
Mr. Moody has reviewed the agreement and everything is on the up and up. Great. All right. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Nope. Agenda item number 10. This is the parish president's report.
Thank you, council. All of you are pretty much aware of the chamber's efforts, specifically Mr. John Blunt, I think he's here, to control litter. And you know, we do a litter program where we pick up twice a week with the sheriff's department, and we do some other things where we try to control litter, but we have a lot of litter. So I want to do a proclamation for the Saturday that everybody is hoping that more and more people will join in this effort. So I'd like to present this to John. If you can come up, John. I'm going to read it now, if it's okay. Whereas the Livingston Parish Chamber of Commerce launched the Love Livingston Parish Initiative in 2015, whereas the Chamber has adopted Litter-Free LP as part of the Love LP Community Pride campaign and initiative of the Chamber, and whereas litter is a problem for everyone and affects our health, discourages people and businesses from locating to Livingston Parish, and hurts our reputation, and whereas the Chamber is dedicated to raising awareness about the issue through its Litter-Free LP campaign, and whereas we must all do our part to make progress and create changes that will help our community. Now therefore, I, Leighton Ricks, duly elected president of Livingston Parish, do hereby proclaim Saturday, November 16, 2019, Litter-Free LP Day, and encourage all residents and businesses in the parish to take the Litter-Free LP pledge and agree to pick up 10 pieces of litter near your home, work, or place of recreation on the 10th of every month, dispose of trash only in intended receptacles, and secure items in your car or pickup bed so that it does not become litter on the highway. I hereby further encourage our residents to actively participate in Litter-Free Livingston Parish Day by becoming a litter hero and joining or forming a team to clean up some of the roadways on November 16, 2019. For more information on how you can participate, visit livingstonparishchamber.org litter-initiative. This done and signed on this day.
All right. Do we need a resolution or he's
I don't-
proclaiming it and we're good? Okay.
Yeah, I don't think you need anything, just wanted to read this, I'm gonna give it to John.
Appreciate you, Mr. Layton. Okay, agenda item number 11. This is a public hearing and adoption of LP ordinance number 19-32 to acquire immovable property owned at 8395 Calamese Road, Dental Springs, Louisiana, 70706 for $293,000 as part of the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program project. Is there anybody from the audience here to talk about this agenda item?
Was this put on by Mark Harrelstein?
His department,
Yes.
yeah. It's part of the grant program, yeah. Any-
I talked to Mr. Harrell about this. He said everything's on the up and up. It's just to acquire the property if it has a mitigation. So I'll make that motion.
I say.
Excellent. All right. We have a motion on the floor by Tracy Gerlinghouse. Oh, yeah. All right, so we'll now open the public hearing. And we're going to read this ordinance.
Okay, this is proposed ordinance 19-32, it's an ordinance to acquire real property for the parish of Livingston pursuant to the flood mitigation assistance program, project number FEMA 4277DRLA 024, Livingston Parish. The address in question is 8395 Calamese Road, Livingston, Louisiana, 77006.
Once again, is there any discussion from the audience on this? Okay, we'll now close the public hearing. So a motion on the floor by Tracy, second by John Wascom. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No? All right. Now, at this time, can we go ahead and do the addendum? Being that this kind of goes hand in hand with this particular
Yeah.
topic? Okay, good. All right. So this is going to be An addendum, A1. This is an introduction of an ordinance to acquire immovable property for the parish of Livingston pursuant to the Hazardous Mitigation Grant Program project number FEMA 4277-DR-LA-024 in Livingston Parish. This particular address is 15933 Cypress Point Lane, Prince Elliott, Louisiana 70733. And this is an introduction of an ordinance, and we're going to read the ordinance.
And this will be proposed ordinance 19-35. This is an ordinance to acquire movable property for the parish of Livingston pursuant to the Flood Mitigation Assistance Program, project number FEMA 4277-DR-LA-024, Livingston Parish, address being 15933 Cypress Point Lane, French Settlement, Louisiana 70733, and the public hearing will be November the 21st, 2019 at 6:30 p.m.
Okay, so is there any discussion from the audience on this agenda item? Any from the council? All right, do we have a motion on the floor to introduce this ordinance?
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Jeff Ard made a motion. It was seconded by Tab Lobel. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. We'll now move on to agenda item number 12. This is a public hearing and adoption of LP ordinance number 19-33. This is to amend LP number 19-29, road revocation for Carew Harris. Carew Harris. Okay, go ahead and, well, I'll now open the public hearing and ask Ms. Sandy to read the ordinance.
Proposed ordinance 19-33 is an ordinance as follows to wit: revoking the dedication of and quit claim in favor of Livingston Holdings, the southernmost 2,295 linear feet section of Carew Harris Road, as detailed per Blue Book from the 7-year capital outlay, was submitted under the official records of Livingston Parish Council under LPR 02479 on September 3rd, 2002.
All right, any discussion from the audience? We're now going to close the public hearing. Is there a motion on the floor to adopt this ordinance? There's a motion by Mr. Bubba Harris. There's a second by John Wascom. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No? All right. That was Carew Harris Road.
You got it right. There you go.
Agenda item number 13, this is a public hearing and adoption of LP ordinance number 19-34 to amend section 58-170, gravity drainage district number 2, board commissioners, and section 58-208, gravity drainage district number 5, board of commissioners, revising to correspond with state law. Okay. Is there anybody here that would like to talk about this particular agenda item from the audience? Oh, we got to open the public hearing. Yeah. We will now open the public hearing. We're going to get you. We're going to read the ordinance.
This is an ordinance to amend section 58-170 Board of Commissioners and section 58-208 Board of Commissioners of the Code of Ordinances of Livingston Parish by amending the number of board members of Gravity Drainage District number 2 and Gravity Drainage District number 5 by increasing the membership from 5 members to 7 members.
Okay. So now, is there any discussion from the audience on this particular agenda item? Okay, we're now going to close the public hearing. Is there anybody from the council that would like to say, did you want to come up?
I did, I'm sorry.
Okay, so we're now going to actually reopen that public hearing.
I apologize.
It's okay. It's okay, Ms. Muriel. Don't forget to state your name and your address and everything, just so we can get it all documented.
For the record, Muriel Laws, 26253 Poplar Glen Drive. I just wanted to clarify, is that part of the ordinance that was discussed a couple of months ago for Port Vincent, or is just across the board to increase the commissioners?
It's for the existing gravity drainage district to increase the amount of board members from
Yeah.
5 to 7.
It's-
Okay, so
it's
this is
different.
not, it's different, okay.
altogether.
It's a
That
different
was
gravity
to-
drainage
That was
district.
to increase the size of the district, that
Fort
particular.
Vincent,
For the water thing, right, okay,
That was Ward 2
water.
okay.
Who's requesting this? Who put this?
We have to do this because basically the stuff went through the Senate and all, but this is kind of like housekeeping.
We passed it, right.
Okay, so the state's already approved.
State's already approved it. We just have to do this as our part.
Is this one that we previously asked the state to pick up?
Yes.
Yes.
We passed a resolution.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh,
For both of
Catching
them.
up.
That's fine, because I remember we asked them to pick it up at the session.
Yes, and they did, and they approved it.
Okay.
They did it.
Okay,
So
so
this
just
is
wait,
different than the one you're talking about that I brought up, which
Right.
is Ward 2 water.
yes.
And that's going to the state now for them to pick up the next session.
Okay, so when I see correspond with state law, then I should be referred to the state law to see exactly how it's going to affect this, correct? Or is it going to be written online somewhere?
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, anybody, but let me go ahead and try to attempt to answer this question. The state law originally said that you can only have 5 board members. We wanted to have 7 board members, so we passed a resolution to, I guess you could say, ask our legislators to to change the state law statute to allow for 7 board members, and they did so. So now what we are doing is introducing already 2 weeks ago this ordinance, and now we're going to adopt it tonight if it passes, and we will be allowed to have 7 board members on each of these boards.
So do each member, council member, have a board member representing their district? No?
No,
The district
because
might not touch all of us.
this is an
Okay.
individual gravity drainage district with the borders and everything, and basically it's part of the 20% of Livingston Parish that has existing gravity drainage districts,
Funded.
funded
Funding.
gravity drainage districts.
That's right, funding. Okay, thank you for reopening. Appreciate it.
Is there anybody else that would like to talk about this particular agenda item?
Does the ordinance say who's going to appoint, like, do appoint the 2 additional members to the district?
We do.
We just, the way we've always done it, whichever councilman who has area in that particular drainage district, they decide who.
I know, but does it say, okay, 3 from District 2 and 3 from District?
No.
That's just always been decided amongst the
Okay.
councilmen
I
that
just didn't know
that
the
it
ordinance lays
affects.
it out, how do you,
No.
No, it don't.
yeah.
Yeah. See, like me, I have a very small portion.
I had none, that's what I,
Yeah.
yeah, so I mean,
And I have 80% of that district, so 80% of my district, District 5, is 80% of Gravity 5 in District 7. Yes.
so you'll get 80%.
No, I wish, but no.
Well, that's yet to be,
That's fine, I just thought maybe you
Yeah.
could put that in the ordinance, but that's okay.
Kind of a
Gentleman's
Yeah, that's
agreement, I
fine.
believe.
It is.
Yeah.
any more discussion? We're now going to close the public hearing.
I make the motion.
There's a motion by Tracy Girlinghouse to adopt this ordinance. There's a second by John Wascom. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Agenda item number 14A. Mr. Sam, would you like to come up and talk about these agenda items?
Guerrilla warfare?
Yeah, well, this one, was
It's
this pulled, Sam?
paint-
Yes, the first one is pulled, Gorilla, yes.
Sam's first one's pulled.
Yeah, that one's pulled. First on the agenda tonight will be Cedric Thomas, waiver on the number of lots on a servitude. This is in Mr. Jeff Orr's district, Highway 63. It's a recommendation of the Livingston Parish Planning Commission to approve the waiver for lots, for number of lots on servitude for Mr. Cedric Thomas.
Wait,
And
what
these
about,
2 lots.
wait, what about Gorilla?
It's canceled, Shane. It was pulled.
My bad, okay, so this is actually 14B.
This is first.
Waiver of
yes.
lots on a servitude, okay.
Just for a quick question though, they pulled it because of the sign? They didn't have the sign out?
That's correct.
How long does the sign need to be out?
10 days prior to the planning commission.
Okay.
This This is in Mr. Jeff Orridge's
Yeah,
district.
and on this one here, I've talked to some of the planning guys. The lots are gonna wind up both being right at half an acre. So they're still decent sized lots. So, planning had no problem with it. I don't either, so I'm good with it. I'll make a motion to accept it.
So the lots are gonna be half acre?
Just the two that they're splitting in the back.
Okay.
That only me.
I'll second.
So we got a motion on the floor by Mr. Jeff Ard to grant the waiver for the number of lots on the servitude. And we have a second by Tracy Gerlinghouse. Is there any discussion from the audience on this particular agenda item? Any more from the council? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. 14C.
Next on your agenda is waiver on the number of lots on a servitude. This is for Watts 5 LLC. This is in Mr. Tabb's district off of Highway 42. It's a recommendation of the Livingston Parish Planning Commission to approve the waiver for number of lots on the servitude for Watts 5 LLC.
It's a 5 acre lot that they're putting on there, so it's a big chunk that they add, so don't have a problem with that.
So it's like they're adding a 5 acre, or they're chopping up a 5 acre?
No, they're adding the lot that they're adding is 5 acres.
Oh,
7's total, actually.
gotcha, okay.
I make the motion.
We got a motion on the floor to grant the waiver of lots on the servitude for Watts 5 LLC by Tab Lobel, second by Bubba Harris. Any discussion from the audience? Any more from the council? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Okay, next on your agenda is a commercial development. This is in Mr. Jeff Averts and partially Tabb's district. Searchers 4-wheel drive supplies and outfitters, preliminary site plan. It's a recommendation of the Livingston Parish Planning Commission to approve the preliminary site plan for Searchers 4-wheel drive supplies and outfitters, contingent on receiving the fire district's letters. And the reason why they're slow is that's kind of a volunteer fire district, and they don't, man their area every day. So we're gonna get it. It's just a matter of when we get it. And when we do, then it'll be approved.
It's Phil Losh. He's been building. He started out right there in French Settlement building stuff in his barn. Moved to Baton Rouge for 9 years, and he's tired of paying rent and wants to come back home. So he's going to move back to French Settlement and build him a shop. Does 4-wheel drive stuff. Good guy.
Works on Jeeps.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me. This motion by
Yeah, I'll make the motion.
Motion by Tab Lobel to approve the preliminary site plan.
Second.
Second by Bubba Harris. Any discussion from the audience? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Okay, next on your agenda is Howell Group Investments. This is also a waiver on the number of lots on a servitude. This is in also Mr. Tab Lobel's
Wearing
district.
me out.
Off of Oliver Wheat Road. It's a recommendation of the Livingston Parish Planning Commission to approve the waiver on number of lots on a servitude for Howell Group Investments.
This is actually 55 acres, I think it is, that they're
I think it's, yeah,
splitting in half, and a father and son are gonna live there and have other family members with 9 acres next to it. So they trying to all get on the same hill where the kids can run and play and ride the 4-wheelers and all that good stuff, which I think that's where you ought to be living. So I make that motion.
That's good stuff right there, Tab. All right, so we got a motion on the floor by Tab Lobel to grant the waiver for Howell Group Investments. Second by John Wascom. Anybody from the audience here to talk about this agenda item? No? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
I have a 4-wheeler trail to Mama's. Look out. They're going to come get you something.
Okay, next on your agenda is for Mr. Jeremy Forbes. This also is a waiver on a number of lots on a servitude. This is in Mr. Gary Talbert's district. We spoke to Mr. Gary. It's a recommendation of the Livingston Parish Planning Commission to approve the waivers to allow a 25-foot servitude for Mr. Jeremy Forbes. And I think the reason for the narrowness of the servitude is getting around some modads that was existing, so Gary knows about it. He didn't have a problem with it as far as I knew.
So you talked to Gary?
Did I talk to Gary?
Yeah.
I did.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So is anybody from the audience want to talk about this agenda item? Anybody from the council?
Said Gary was okay with it?
Yes, he was.
Gary's okay with it. All right.
So, is there a motion on the floor
I'll make that
to
motion
grant
for
this
him.
waiver for the 25-foot servitude? There's a motion on the floor by Jeff Ard. And there's a second by Bubba Harris. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Okay,
Motion carries.
next on your agenda is AT&T Mobility Preliminary Site Plan. This is also in the Satellite Mobile District, on Huff Chapel Road.
They hitting you hard on your way out.
It is a recommendation of the Parish Planning Commission to approve the preliminary site plan for AT&T Mobility.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't this a wonderful thing that they're gonna put a tower out there and people are gonna actually be able to use their cell phone in that
They
area?
need it, because my brother's working in this area right now, and he's got AT&T, and there's nothing for service, so, they definitely need it.
Now, I might add that they are gonna need a waiver to put this tower in, because there's a certain amount of distance you've gotta stay away from property lines. And it's been addressed. It needs to be 335 feet, and it's 188, but there's no residents around. So the planning commission went on and made the recommendation with that being said.
And I think the same guy owns the other piece of
I think
property
you're
too,
right,
if
Ted.
I
I didn't know
remember
that.
right,
I think
yeah.
you're right, I've heard it, yeah.
So that, like, the property that's in question is owned by the same gentleman who owns the
Yeah.
tower?
You gotta have so many feet in case that tower falls over, it don't hit somebody else's house or something like that, so.
But he doesn't
so-
have a residence there, it's just, like you said, it's just.
Right. So, but it's, the same guy owns all the property around it, so. It's just the way it was purchased, it was in two different tracks.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll make that motion.
So there's a motion on the floor to approve the preliminary plat for AT&T Mobility, Huff Chapel Road, by Tab Lobel. He made that motion, and it was seconded by Bubba Harris. Is there any discussion from the audience on this? Any more from the council? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No.
Okay, next, and I think this is the last one, because the rest of them's been canceled. Subdivision with improvements. Guess whose district's in here?
It ain't Tab's.
They have logos.
No,
Surprise?
Dairy Ridge subdivision.
Wait, you skipped,
That's been pulled, that was canceled.
That other one-
H is pulled?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
That was pulled too.
And J and K, according to him.
can you tell me why it was pulled?
Sign, description. sign.
AT&T Mobility, they didn't put the description sign up?
Shane trying to get his from coverage.
Man, I was deer hunting in Norfolk Livingston Parish a couple of Saturdays ago
It should be in your notes there why it was pulled.
during that terrible rainstorm, and I couldn't use my cell phone, but this is gonna allow me to be able to do that, and all the people up there is gonna really benefit, and I was very excited about that project.
They just gotta come back next
Yeah,
month.
it does.
Okay,
Hey,
all right, I apologize for the interruption.
That's okay.
Okay,
Subdivision with improvements. Dairy Ridge subdivision. This is also in Mr. Tabb's district on Fayard Road. It is a recommendation of the Livingston Parish Planning Commission to approve the preliminary plat for Berry Ridge subdivision without any waivers.
all right.
I've got a little note down here. I mean, if you're interested, there were some concerned citizens there last night. Drainage, traffic, and I think maybe you might have a few here tonight. So,
they need a waiver?
No. Okay, so, this is Berry Ridge subdivision. And so this subdivision is gonna be, developed off of Fayard Road,
That's correct.
between state highways, what, 42, and what's the state highway south of it? 1037.
1037. And it's a 75 lot development.
75 lots, and, the width of these lots
On 20 acres.
on 20 acres, what's the width of the lots?
You should have that plan. I think it's around 60 foot in the
63
town.
feet, 63
60, 70 foot?
63.
60?
I
How long are they?
think 130.
Probably 140 feet.
So how many total lots on 20 acres?
They're proposing 75,
75.
which falls in within our ordinance. I mean, but, you know, they, like I say, they have some concerns about the
I think he got some.
Drainage.
We'll speak on it.
the roads and traffic.
Is there anybody here that would like to address this particular agenda item? All right, we'll just take one at a time, and you can come on up, and just don't forget to, name and address and all that good stuff.
Hello, my name is Rachel Province, 24539 Fayard Road. I'm not really sure how all this works, so I'll just tell you what my grievances are with it. First of all, we're in a volunteer fire department district, and the addition of 75 additional houses for those to cover is not very good. We have some major drainage issues on that road, particularly. In the flood of 16, there was 3.5 feet of water standing on that property for over 5 days. Last Friday, I guess it was, whenever there was a really bad storm, there was water over the road on Fayard Road at the end of it, and then on that property, it had a good 2 or 3 inches just sitting. So that's a big concern for us. Also, the traffic that this will bring is a huge issue. It's a very small road. It's 18 feet wide and there's been many times that school buses can't pass each other at the same time. So you're gonna add an additional 150 cars to come in and out of that area. There is on the Blood River side turn, there's a very sharp turn to come from Blood River onto Fayard Road. When I was building my house, I had to pay a guy to stand on the corner to do traffic for the concrete trucks. There's multiple issues, not to mention that our schools cannot hold, and the average new home has 2.5 kids, and our schools cannot hold an additional 150 kids. It's not possible. I could go on and on. I'm not sure how much time I have, but I can go on and on as to why this is not a good idea. This is not a good plan. We're not opposed to progress. I get that the whole parish, it's a great school district. It's a great area to live in. We have a wonderful community. I understand that there's going to be development, but to put 75 homes on 20 acres is just absurd. It's absolutely absurd. So that's my piece.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rachel.
Ms. Rachel, everything you're explaining right now that you just said, it's concerns that that's the ongoing theme in my district and certainly in the parish. But short of like them requesting a waiver, do they need a waiver, Mr. Sam?
They're not asking for it.
They're not asking for a waiver. Under the current structure, the way the home rules charter is lined out, if they're not asking for a waiver, we're pretty much duly bound to grant it. But, and this is why I keep saying, I'm just using this opportunity to say so, if that area was properly zoned, your area, then we would have an avenue to stop it. And at some point in the near future, we're going to do that. So whoever your councilman is at the time when zoning is brought forward for their area, you need to give them a call. Whomever it is, I don't know who, is it your district?
Yeah.
So it won't be Tab.
Right.
Because Tab probably won't be here. But I mean, it's important that we get, pretty much almost every piece of property in the country, that's got a population is zoned. This is one of the few areas that isn't. And it's almost absurd. But until we do zone our parish outside the municipalities, this is going to probably we're going to continually run into. And I understand a lot of people have reservations about that, but really it's just a protection for the people. We can't stop it. Can't stop the only way we could stop it would be on a waiver.
Okay.
If they want a waiver, we could deny the waiver.
As far as a traffic impact study, can that not be
Now-
a stipulation?
Well,
Or a drainage
they're probably
impact
going to have to
study?
do a traffic impact study. And
Still have to do that.
They'll have to do those things, right? And they'll have to do those things, but those
And what
are
about a drainage impact study?
drainage impact study as well.
Okay,
So they'll have to do those things. And
okay.
if you, I don't know, earlier on whenever one of the items, there was a neighborhood that was doing a traffic impact. So it was a neighborhood I was vehemently against. But they managed to not need a waiver at some point, and so then it went to the city. The traffic impact study showed that they needed to improve the intersection within the city limits. The city worked out with them how the contractor was going to improve that intersection themselves, so the city was okay with it.
Okay.
They didn't need to come to us in order to go forward, but I wanted to limit the amount of houses they could have there before they did that. So yeah, they have to go through those processes, and they very well could be something there could hold them up, or they might have to improve something, or they could just depending how it goes. But
And as far as the school systems, are we not concerned with the amount of kids? I mean, they literally are busting out the
again,
cities.
I absolutely agree with you.
Yeah, I'm asking what do we do? I mean, is that something that is taken into consideration when approving the building process of something like this?
I don't necessarily think if you build the houses, then you have to supply the school system. You have to supply the school for them. And look, I'm in the same boat.
I mean, everyone in my family is a teacher at Springfield, and I can tell you firsthand. I asked the principals to come to the meeting tonight. I emailed them. They all had prior commitments, but I mean, I can tell you 100% that there is no room. They are in tons of buildings that are outside of the actual school. The teachers they're supposed to have somewhere between 28 and 30 kids. Most of them have 34, 35 kids. I mean, it's...
And like even, I think the entire school system's is really, and that's a good point actually, because it's the point that kind of loses people kind of overlook sometimes, people outside the school board, in a sense where, Walker just built a big school, but a very big school, and it's got a lot of students there. They're wanting to move. They're going to move the freshmen over because they have a school just for the freshmen.
Right.
This neighborhood in my district, that's 300 homes.
Right.
Like that. How many kids is that? And that's just the one development.
Right.
So you're absolutely right. We all have to start looking at this in a long and short-term view. We can't continue down this avenue, and so
And it's my understanding that these are going to be, so, one of the points made last night, I wasn't able to attend the meeting, but one of the points last night was that this would bring in more funding for the schools and whatnot by taxes, but that's not the way, I don't think they understand that that's not the way it works. If a school is approved and these taxes do happen, that's great, but if these are going to be low-budget homes, then they're not going to be paying an extreme amount of taxes that is going to contribute to that anyway. So, I mean, I understand, but I'm voicing all of my concerns about it, which is most of our entire road. And we've been there, I've been there for 30 years. Some of these people have been there for 50 plus years. We all have seen the drainage issues that we currently have. We've called multiple times to get the ditches cleaned out and dug out again. It's not happened. It's one area that they dug out and then they left. And so there's multiple issues with it, and bringing in that many homes is not going to help anything. And like I said before, like I stated earlier, we are only under a volunteer fire department. So, I mean, yes, we do have a lot of homes as it is, but I mean, to add an additional 75, I just don't see how they'll be able to cover that. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I got a couple of questions, but if somebody else wants to come up and say a few things, they can. Hey, so we'll let my bad, I screwed that up, but you gotta raise your hand and I call upon you and then you're welcome to come up. So, but ma'am, we promise to get you next, I promise.
Greg Spears, 24612 Fayard Road. I appreciate the council hearing this tonight, and I know that you guys are limited on what you can address. I just want to bring up a couple of points just to have it out in the open. That on the plot map, they have a retention pond. It's about 700 feet off of the road, and they've got that draining to the front ditch that goes parallel to the road. My house, I built 180 feet off of the road, and we barely got enough lift to have our sewer drain into that front ditch without going to a pump. So I don't see how they're going to be able to drain that from 700 feet off the road. Number two, that road got a tremendous amount of water on it during the 16 flood. We built our house in 18, so after the flood, we shot a grade off of our neighbor's house that was the only house on the street that did not flood, and we had to bring in 30 inches of dirt in addition to our slab just to hopefully make sure that we wasn't going to flood. That was $20,000 worth of dirt just on my house. The development is, I believe it said that they're going to put in 12 inches of dirt. This is a flood zone X, and this is low income housing, starter homes, I should say, and nobody in there is going to carry flood insurance. So we get one big flood like we had in 16 again, and every one of those houses are underwater, and there's no insurance to cover it. Along with that flooding and that retention pond, when it floods, what's going to happen to that water in that retention pond? Is there an environmental impact that's going to be caused because of the flood? So those are those things dealing with the flooding and the drainage. My only other concern is the school system, where I know that we are just about at max capacity there, and there was a tax that was proposed a couple of years ago in Springfield to build a new high school, and it was rejected by the citizens because of the way it was constructed, where anybody under a value of $150,000 would pay zero tax. That's near about this entire new subdivision. They would not be contributing to property tax to building a new facility that can house an additional 150 kids. So there's those points I just wanted to bring to light. There's others. There's wetlands that we're concerned about. That's a wetlands needs to have a wetlands delineation done on it. So that's my piece.
Thank you. Come on up.
Hi, my name is Rhonda Crochet, 25519 LA 43, Springfield, Louisiana. I guess I'm one of these people that Rachel was talking about that's been in this area for over 50 years. I'm 55 years old. I was born and raised on this property. My grandparents, my family, actually donated the property to have Fayard Road put in. We're not opposed to change. We realize that we have to adapt. We have no problem with these people coming in and selling acre lots or whatever. Put in 15 new homes. You know what that's going to do? That's going to keep our property values up. That's going to also contribute to the parish. That's going to help with taxes for our schools. That's going to help with education. The flooding issue. My parents and I owned property just to the, I guess it's going to be to the north and west of Fayard Road. It's on Richardson Drive, which is right off of Fayard Road. During the 2016 flood, my parents had almost 7 feet of water in their house. Lots of our friends here, we grew up with them, with their kids. These people had 4, 5 feet of water in their house. For this development company, number one, to say, oh, it didn't flood. It did flood. We were there. We saw it. We saw the devastation. It's in a flood zone X. Yes, it is. But I think that they have a moral obligation to be able to tell everybody, yes, it did flood, even though it is a flood zone X. When they build this property up to put in 75 budget homes, where's that water going to go? It's going to flood our neighbors to the north, to the south, to the east, to the west. That water is going to come down like this. They're going to be sitting pretty. What about us? You know, like I said, we're not opposed to change. If they want to come in, they want to build these 15 houses, hey, they can make more money doing that. We're worried about our schools. We're worried about our drainage. We're worried about the septic system. You know, I called today, and I think that there is a, let me grab this. It's a ordinance number 13-58 to deal with utilities. And it states that ODS shall not place sewer treatment facility for development on existing residential properties. It says approval shall be at the discretion of the parish council. Again, I'm with Mr. Spears. What's going to happen when it floods again? And it's not if it's going to, it's when. What's going to happen to this retention pond? What's going to happen? All this stuff is going to be in our houses again. And I just respectfully ask y'all to please consider this before approving this. Anything that y'all can do, wetlands. This property has been vacant for years and years and years and years. It holds water. You can go out there any day of the week. There are palmettos coming out the wazoo. A heavy rain, the roads are flooded. We have a major, major concern here. And like I said, we respectfully ask you guys to please consider this. Think about people that have been here. Like I said, I'm 55 years old, and I've been here probably longer than anybody on the road. I guess that's here tonight. But it's near and dear to my heart. I have a lot invested here, and that's it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming and talking. Okay, Mr. John, go ahead with your question.
Sam, are they putting a package plan for the sewer for this subdivision, for these lots? Or are they just using, each one using modads, or what are they doing about this?
I had that same question. I don't really see on the preliminary site plan where that's designated to be located at.
I think it's just gonna be one unit, one.
So it's like the community system.
Right.
Where's that at on the preliminary plat?
It's like
Can I-
lot 46 and 47, something like that. I'm not looking at it.
So it's not gonna be 75 individual modads going into the ditch.
No.
It goes into a treatment facility somewhere.
Somewhere.
I'm just on the right.
I don't have a plan.
Okay, that's fine. I just was curious.
Can you just kind of tell me about where that sewer treatment facility is going to be located?
It's around 45 to 45.
47.
It's a little bitty square there.
I can't read anything on this, to be honest with you, but can you just tell me, okay, where lot 1 starts? Well, I mean, that looks like a lot, just like all the other lots. Am I wrong, Jeff?
It's in this side,
So that's not going to be a lot for a house right there?
14.
It is going to be a lot for a house. How are you going to put the sewer treatment facility there to handle that amount of sewer? I mean, I'm just asking questions. And have a house on the same lot. Well, I know, but ain't the preliminary plat supposed to,
I'm sorry?
can you help me, Mr. Burns? Ain't the preliminary plat supposed to designate exactly where that's supposed to be located?
They show it on there, Shane, between 46 and 47. Now, whether the size is big enough, I mean, we'll have to wait till we get construction plans to be able to tell that.
Yeah, it looks like it's
But they
just
have
a,
STP right next to that, in between those lots.
Okay. It sure looks like to me it's one of those regular lots and it's spaced out with the
Is
same.
anybody here with Vernon?
Yeah, that's my question.
Is anybody here with the engineering?
Oh, yes, sir.
department?
So would you like to come up and state your name and address and answer all these questions we have? Thanks, whoever got me this thing. Thanks, Jeff.
Brian Logston, 40363 Chandler Drive, Ponchatoula. We have a sewer treatment plant. It's on a lot that's 30 by 15 foot. It is designated lot 76. If you read just between lot 47 and 46, go north, you'll see the STP lot designated 76, not a buildable lot.
Okay.
It followed you guys' requirements. Your parish engineer approved it.
And that the plan for that is to drain to the front road ditch?
That is in question. It should be going into the curb and gutter, but again, a hydraulic study must be done first, all these.
So you don't know at this moment?
Correct.
I got some more questions, but I mean, I don't have to do my questions now. Does anybody else want to go before I ask my question?
This gentleman, he said the parish engineer has approved it. The only thing the parish engineer has approved is the preliminary site plan.
Right.
We'll
Right, no,
they'll look at the construction plans once this is approved.
No, the lot layout has
The
been.
lot layout.
Yes.
I just wanted to clear that up.
Yes.
Thanks for clearing that up. So I just got some general questions. I mean, is flood zone X, what is the intent? What is the plan? Can you answer these questions? How are you going to drain those front lots to that back retention pond and then drain that overflow out of that retention pond back to Fayard Road? How is that going to be
We
possible?
plan to run the curb and gutter for the roads, sheet flow half of the lots into the drain, into the retention pond. And again, we have to go in there and do a topographic survey and find out how much fall we have. By our FEMA fermet, we see about 2 foot of fall, which, should be plenty.
So the subdivision would be curb and gutter.
Right.
And you would design the lots to drain to the street, to the gutter, to the retention pond, and then the overflow would drain back out to the parish road ditch.
Correct.
so you think there's 2 feet of fall from the back of that property to out to Fayard, you think?
By looking at the FEMA fermet, yes.
The lots on the front facing Fayard Road, are they going to be also designed to drain to the retention pond, all that?
Yes.
It's all going to drain back to the retention pond? So they're going to be sloped to the back, catch that road back behind that?
Correct.
Okay. So is this particular project planned to adhere to the 100-year stormwater retention plan?
At this point, Livingston Parish is 25-year. If you guys would like us to run the 100-year flood, we'd be more than happy to do so.
I think
As a
that in
stipulation.
the ordinance, we have the option at the parish review engineers, after y'all review the plan, don't y'all have that option to require that? Is that true, Chad?
Yes, sir, I think it's in there to where we can look at it, and see what the impacts are.
Well, I just know this, and I know this area very well, and a lot of us do, and the drainage is very, very poor in this area, and we just don't want something like this to be able to come into that area and have any adverse effects on any of the people that own property surrounding that. And and we don't currently have a funded gravity drainage district, and we don't currently have basically any dedicated funding in any way, shape, or form. And I don't want to go off on that tangent to handle off-road drainage, you know, and so I do feel for the people, you know, and I worry about their safety, you know, when it comes to development of this nature, being able to come in there and, I mean, if an elevated development like this, you know, harming the people that are already there, you know. So to me, if this was to pass, I would, I don't even know if I have the authority, but I would request, it would be to me at my request that we follow that 100-year stormwater retention, because we are not really sure at this time how much longer it's going to be before we do have a funded gravity drainage district that can clean out drainage ways and try to prevent future flooding, you know. So, and I don't know what the expense would be with that, you know, but that would be something that I think that if it was allowed to move forward, you know, that would benefit the people the most. I mean,
We have no
does
problem
anybody-
with that.
You wouldn't have any problem with
No,
that?
sir.
Yeah. Okay, and the only other question I had, you know, was the traffic plan, you know, with the increased traffic on Fayard Road, you know, and it being so narrow. Chad, this may be more for you, but you may be able to answer it. If, I mean, the road can't almost handle really, I mean, people are pulling off, school buses are pulling off, trying to let people come by, you know. It was probably once, long time ago, a single lane gravel road and got overlaid and all this kind of stuff. If the traffic study, I mean, what is the plan for the traffic? I mean, are y'all gonna come in there and widen this road such that people can safely travel back and forth down this road after this subdivision is developed? I mean, is that possible to include the
If the traffic study
funds?
requires it, then it will. I mean,
I mean, what typically would a traffic study require, Chad? I mean, would that be a requirement? Because to me, if you just simply come in here and make sure that they got a little old turning lane off of this Fayard Road, that is not going to be enough to keep the people of Livingston Parish safe on that road that's coming down there. So,
Yeah,
I mean, I would like to see that road widened.
Yeah, Shannon, I
in
guess
order-
when the traffic impact study gets accomplished by whoever they hire for that, they'll have to look at those, they'll have to look at probably the state highways, those intersections. It goes out a certain distance depending on how much average daily traffic you'll have created from that subdivision. And they'll look at the roads, they'll look at the widths, they'll decide if they need a turn lane somewhere, or they need something else, you know, leading out to the state highway. It's just a matter of how many houses you have and how many, you know, what's the average daily traffic flows, which is what they're gonna look at. 18-foot road is not, for Livingston Parish, we have plenty of those. If it's less than that, well, they'll probably have to look at it and see. You know, I'm not the traffic engineer, but I'll be reviewing what they supply to us to see if they're, you know, looking at that to see if it needs to be improved. So it's just a matter of, when they get that back, we'll look at it and, they'll make recommendations, and we'll have to see if those recommendations are accurate from what they're studying on just like we do for a drainage impact study. We'll look at that the same way. If he can't get his outfall to work to go back out to the state highway, he's gonna have to figure out something else. So, we'll treat it the same way with the traffic. I probably didn't answer your question exactly, but I won't know until they submit something, Shane, to see what their recommendations are gonna be. But if the roads are that narrow and it's a safety concern, then you guys can maybe ask for something further on that.
So that was pretty good information, Mr. Chad. I appreciate you so much for coming and explaining all that technical stuff to me. So does the council have the authority, if we don't agree with the traffic study proposed by the engineer, to request a modification before we move forward? I mean, to me, we don't really get to see this again after we approve this preliminary plat. So how can we guarantee, you know, that, is there anything that we can do as a council to?
You can make a stipulation, Shane, if you want for it to come back or something like that. It's up to you guys how y'all want to treat that.
You agree with that?
Yeah, I'd love to see that, because I'd love to see, everything followed to the T on this deal, because kind of like Rhonda, I've been there my whole life, been running up and down that road, and I was one of the guys that was running an outboard up and down that road, picking people up, taking them all over the place. One of the many, put that many people, that many, I realize that, change is a-coming. That's just the way it is. But if you put that concentration of people in a small spot that I know had that 3 and 4 feet of water on it, me and a whole bunch of other people from Springfield were running around, didn't sleep for 3 days, dragging people out with airboats and outboards and everything else. And just, I cannot, don't want to negatively impact the people that's around there. And I just, like a while ago when I said they got 55 acres they busting up, because I think that's the way you ought to be living. Call me old fashioned, and I know that ain't right, but that's the way I think you ought to be living. And I realize that the market will dictate what people want, and maybe they want that, and I just don't get it. And so I would like to, even if my tenure is over here at the end of the year, Chad, I want to make sure that this thing is followed. I mean, their traffic impact study, their drainage impact study. Heck, I'm talk to the Corps and make sure all the stuff's right. And I ain't mad at y'all, but I mean, I live there and you don't. Okay, just like the rest of these folks. And so, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen real, real right. Okay.
Mr. Moody, I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
So can we, within the current rules and regulations and guidelines and laws and all that good stuff, can we require this be contingent upon coming back before the council to ensure that we agree with the proposed traffic study and gravity drainage study, being that there's no funded gravity drainage district to handle, I guess you could say, drainage of this particular project, to ensure that we can do this safely and make sure that there's no adverse effects against the surrounding properties, and to make sure that the traffic can safely flow, on that. Can we do that?
Well, I suppose you could pass that tonight. My caution to you, though, is that if you do that on this project, you have to treat all other projects the same way. For the last many years, you've done dozens and dozens of subdivisions that have met every requirement and approved the preliminary site plan, and that's your last input. After your ordinance then gives it to the staff and the engineers to review to make sure all this other stuff is done. So if you're going to start going down that road, I would encourage you to change your ordinance and require that final approval come back to the council, so that these engineers can come back and report to you that they've successfully signed off on it. But to change the rules midstream is what gives you some grief. That's my only concern.
And I appreciate that. My only concern too is me. I'm speaking about me as an individual, being a councilman, and beginning to learn more and more about these developments in Livingston Parish, and I know that there were individuals south of Walker that didn't flood in 2016. The subdivision comes in, it was approved, and they had gravity drainage, that they met all the requirements and everything. And then we had one of these storms, that comes out of the Gulf every so often. We just get lucky if it doesn't come our way. And it came our way that day, and it rained so much that there were individuals on Jomay Road that did flood, that didn't flood in 2016. They flooded after the flood of 2016 because of just poor drainage. And I mean, I don't know. To me, it's something that I think we need to take another look at, to ensure that.
Well, I agree with all that you say. I mean, the problem there was when you start changing the rules in the middle of the game, after somebody's purchased property or spent the money or done the studies, or then you create a right of action for them, and you start moving the goalposts. So it's been done before in this parish, and we got sued for it, and we lost. So just be careful about what you do about it, because no one wants a subdivision, new subdivision right next to them. I get that. But just because you're worried about these issues, it should not be the reason you vote this down. You're gonna have to have a good and valid reason.
I don't want to vote it down. I just wanted to make sure that the road could handle the added traffic flow, and that the area could handle the, I guess you could say, dirt field that's coming from that area.
The traffic impact study is going to tell you that. It's going to say that. I haven't been on this road, not that I'm aware of, but I can't imagine it's any more narrow than Duff Road is. And they're having 4 times as many houses dumped on them than that neighborhood is being built. So, and it's unacceptable. In reality, it's unacceptable. But you can have it come back to you, but then you'll be forced to say yes, because we don't have control of our own system.
If you agree with the traffic study, maybe.
The traffic study is supposedly done by engineers who understand traffic flow. You can't vote no, and that's the system that we're in. That's the system that we are bound by right now. And this is the problem I've been dealing with for the last, well, since I've been on this council. And until we change the way we do business, and until the people, we have to educate the people and to know that we need, like I hate to say it again, zoning. If you zone this, then you have more control. And
I heard you say that earlier, but I got a lot more educating myself about this zoning than you do. But would zoning prevent a residential development from being placed in a residential area? I don't see where zoning could prevent this project.
Well, it depends how you have it zoned.
We can deny anything.
Zoning gives you kind of way more authority over the whole situation. Right now, we're bound by individual laws, ordinances, and if you meet those individual ordinances, then we have to say yes. But if we take control of the situation, and it's going to require men or women of courage to do so.
You know, Tracy, a lot of those subdivisions, specifically speaking about Duff Road, they're within a gravity drainage district. I mean, you got dedicated funding to be able to get the water off the property. We don't have that here.
Well, granted,
I mean, there's
I'll
a good
give you that.
possibility that if this development moves forward, that it's going to cause adverse effects on the surrounding properties.
Oh, I mean, you're absolutely right. But that's also something else that we need to take control of. Fill limits. These are things that people don't want to say out loud, but these are things that realities we have to face. We have to face these things. We have to take back control of this, or take control of it. If we zone it.
Send back the planning commission.
For what? Why would we send it back?
I was asking.
Oh, I'm sorry. I mean,
I was asked if you want to send it back to the planning commission.
I mean,
Well, I'll be honest with you, what I want to do,
I mean, I understand what, I'm
I
sorry.
mean, it's not all my decision, you know, I just was talking through all of this, and I perfectly appreciate all everybody's input, you know, but,
Make a
I
motion.
mean, I just think that,
For what?
I just think we
To
need to.
approve it.
Well, hold on, I was in the middle of talking there.
I'm
I
sorry,
just-
he cut in on me a while ago. It's just,
I just, I don't know, you know, I just, not faulting anybody, but, okay, we're gonna get you next. I'm not faulting anybody. I just would like to see the ordinance changed immediately before we approve any more commercial developments in Livingston Parish, that it come back before this council to ensure that all the things are on the up and up, you know, so that we can, beyond a shadow of a doubt, to the best of our ability, ensure that developments are being developed in Livingston Parish you know.
But my question is,
That needs to go to the ordinance committee, and you
How-
can't do it after somebody's already spent.
and how can you ensure that by coming back to us? How does that ensure anything?
Well, it just would,
And-
it would make me feel better, you know, after after I reviewed it, you know, such that, you know, then I agreed upon it, you know, that
I'm just saying,
I just think
okay.
that would be good, you know,
Well,
make sure
if-
nothing was missed before we actually said, okay.
I mean,
Well, that's what, is that what we paid you to do?
look, I
Well, we
feel
paid
your,
the engineer to do it.
I'm not jumping on you, Shane. I feel your pain on this. I do.
Yeah.
I've been,
fighting with him on his.
I feel your pain on this, but even if you know if the traffic impact study just hypothetically comes back and says it's good, you know in your heart it's not. I know that Duff Road is too narrow for this neighborhood they're putting in. But if they say it's good, if it comes back to me, I still am powerless to stop it. We will be powerless to stop it until we zone this and change the basic foundation on how we do business. And to do so, you have to look past what the few people tell you we shouldn't do, and we need to do it like the rest of the world.
Well, I think that maybe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe if the traffic study came back and said that the road needed to be widened,
They would widen it, or they wouldn't build it.
Or they wouldn't get it.
or we could deny development.
They would have to ask for,
I think that automatically denies it, don't it?
Yeah.
You say it's gotta be widened, they have to widen it or they can't do it. I mean, that's what the traffic impacts.
that was an item,
And you're 100% right about that, and I would just
item,
have the ability to.
what was it, item 8. Item 8, we did tonight.
Mhm,
That was an item that was a development I fought tooth and nail to the end.
mhm.
It went through, I voted against it. They had their traffic impact study done, they did their drainage impact study, they did their sewer. The traffic impact study said the road is wide enough, I suppose, which is insane to me, but they said it was wide enough. But you had to improve the intersection, which falls into the city limits, which would be at Duff and Burgess. And I'm just using this as an example, but it's a dang fine one right now for this. The city controls that. So they come to an agreement that said, hey, you improve that intersection on your dime, and we'll let you do it. And they come to terms with it. But if they would have said, the city would have just said no, it'd been no. And then had to find another way.
Mr. President, you know, this has come up many times before, and there are all kinds of things you could do. None of them would be universally popular.
That's right.
But in most places where we're facing this kind of incredible growth around the state and the country, they're imposing impact fees on every lot, so that a fund is created to help deal with future schools, roads, and drainage. Another way is to require a developer to impose a tax on itself, a property tax, for the next, 50 years, and make that a contingent upon them getting approval. That way, that's a tax base that would be passed on to the property owners, who will be paying fire, school, road taxes well into the future.
The property owners, the new property owners.
The new property owners will have to pick that up. So the developer imposes it on himself, and then the taxes then get collected as the houses get sold. That's just another creative way of getting a tax base to deal with these issues. But it's not popular. It smells and sounds like a tax, but it's how some other counties are dealing with that. Another thing you could do is require more green space in your subdivision. This one has almost no green space. You could require them to have a park or a green space or dedicated land for, nature. Or, you could require, sidewalks, and just to kind of make it less dense. And you take some of the density out, that helps with the drainage. The other thing you could do is go to the net fill regulations that most places are going to, because you let them put 2 and 3 foot of fill, it is going to impact these neighbors. But that's not popular either, because when someone buys a piece of property, like on a 1 acre piece, they want to build in 3 foot of fill, but you've got to treat everybody the same. So there are all kinds of things you can do, but none of them are easy, and none of them will be universally popular.
Thank you for bringing those up, Mr. Moody. And I'll say all those things, or any of the sort of things I'm willing to do. I mean, I'm willing to do whatever it takes, because if we have to do it We cannot continue on the path that we're on. But I need 4 other people to go with me on it. So, and it's not popular. I don't care.
You talking about the zoning?
I'm talking about all the things he said.
And some of it could be done without zoning, you know.
Yeah, well,
Net
obviously,
fill, density.
You bring those things up
taxes.
individually,
Yeah.
I'm willing to go with it. If we want to impose an impact fee on every new neighborhood that comes in, anybody wants to do a development, you have to do an impact fee to pay for the drainage just in that neighborhood for the people who move in, not the people who live here now. People who, to me, it's a no-brainer. If you want to live here, you got to pay extra to keep your neighborhood.
I think Ascension's doing that, aren't they?
Yeah, Ascension is doing that.
But if we bring that up, there's going to be people that are going to feel that pressure. So they're not going to want to do it. Maybe I'm being glass half empty on that, but I don't think I am. So, hard to sit, to make changes that are worth something requires hard decisions, requires leadership. I mean, I'm willing to do it.
Is there anybody else from the audience that would like to say something about this particular agenda item?
Courtney.
Gordon Courtney, 31246, Old Baton Rouge Highway. The only thing I'm concerned about is drainage and flooding as usual. But I have a question for the engineer. If you have this answer, I'd appreciate it, because I don't have the formula with me. An acre of land, if they take, this is a 20-acre subdivision, and they're talking about raising it, what, an average of 1 foot? Because if you're gonna put 75 houses, like you said, there's not gonna be any green space. So every piece of that 20 acres, with the exception of a few blades of grass, is gonna be a road, a driveway, or a house pad, or patio. So let's just say 15 acres, okay? Each acre is 1,602 cubic yards of dirt. And there's a formula to calculate how many gallons of water that displaces. My question is, in this parish right now, what is the regulation on fill as opposed to how much water it displaces? Because I see people building up property 6 feet or 3 feet, and I see a retention pond of sorts that stays full most of the time and is, in my mind, inadequate to the size of the development. So I guess I'm missing something. What is the guide? If you can answer that for me, I'd appreciate it.
Appreciate you, Chad.
Right now, you guys don't have a fill mitigation ordinance. So basically, they can fill the property, but they can't drain, they can't change the drainage pattern of that property. In other words, if that property is draining let's say there's off-site adjacent property draining onto this guy's property, you have to keep that same drainage pattern, even if you fill it. So they got to either put some kind of ditches or perimeter ditches to make it to the detention pond. They can't change any of that. They can add fill to the property, and it may offset the current volume that you have, but it's a zone X, so that's a little bit hard to kind of prove, because FEMA really doesn't want you putting fill in a zone AE or a flood zone prone area. But besides that, you guys don't have a fill mitigation ordinance. I think y'all didn't pass the fill deal either, did you? So there's nothing that we can hang our hat on that, but we just can't let, in other words, you can't just build up a property and dome it in the middle and just drain off from your adjacent property if they wasn't doing that before. So they have to maintain that drainage within that subdivision, whether they got to get it to a detention pond in the back and they got to run it back out to the front. We'll look at all that when the drainage impact study comes to us. But we don't know any of those details until we see that. We can look at just a little bit of the contours from LIDAR and those kind of things at this point, but we don't really typically do that until we get something from the drainage engineer, from the drainage impact study, and we'll kind of get details with it then. But, so just kind of answer this question, you guys don't have that ordinance. idea, we could limit the fill. It has, basically, if they're adding fill to a certain piece of property, they gotta take it from the same watershed and offset it. In other words, they can't add brand new fill to a piece of property without taking it from somewhere else in that same watershed. But you guys don't have that ordinance to allow us to control that, so, anyway. I'm not sure that answered or not.
Come on up, Mr. Mark.
Let me just.
Well, go ahead there, Mr.
Just-
Courtney.
The only question I had was, is there a guide that y'all go by that, if you're going to displace 1,600 cubic yards of dirt or however many gallons of water, how does that relate to maybe the size of their retention pond to get to a zero?
Oh, I got you. Yeah, typically, the amount of fill that you're putting is not determined how large your retention pond is. It's usually determined on the rate, on how fast the water comes off the property compared to what it was doing before. So if it's a wooded area, and now you're putting concrete, you're putting, grass instead of the trees, those kind of things, is what determines the size of the volume of the pond that, gets created. Not so much, it's not the fill.
It's not just the fill.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Mark Landry, 24677 Abernathy Road, Springfield, Louisiana. Just a couple questions I had. I'm just a simple man. I don't know all the politics and how this works. But I hear we're asking for road studies, wetland studies, all these studies. But y'all are going to vote tonight on whether this is going through or not. So what happens when these studies come back negative? Then does it stop the subdivision, or do they have a chance to make it right to continue with progress? I mean, these are things. Another thing I have to ask, where we live, we're a rural community. We do not have city water. We do not have city drainage. We have well systems. All water comes from the ground, well systems. With this new digging in this area, where they're coming in and they're doing drainage and they're digging retention ponds, what could this do to our water levels for our drinking water, our bath water, and everything? Are these other things that's being considered? I mean, I understand y'all as a council have to vote on it, and I respect y'all for what y'all do. But this is people's lives that's in effect for one group of people to make more money while we kill other people's lives. So these are, I mean, Mr. Mooney, I think, said a while ago, Mr. Garlinghouse, I agree with you. There's questions y'all have that are, I mean, hard for y'all to do and hard for y'all to answer, but we have to have a step up for our citizens because y'all are our voice. Y'all are everything we have. We come to y'all, but the planning commission has come in and approved the plans because it looks good on paper. But then it comes to y'all and y'all have to vote on this automatically without knowing the impact of any of these studies that y'all are requiring to be done. Why is it that we get to vote on it without knowing the impact? Shouldn't we know the impact prior to? These are just questions I have, and I'm a simple guy, and I don't know how y'all would answer that or whatever. But I mean, your constituents would back y'all 100% for backing us. And let's change the laws. Let's get it right for our parish and our communities. We need this. But I mean, we shouldn't have to, I guess it's like a react. Some people are leaders, some are followers. We're doing all these studies and we're following. Well, we gotta wait. We've already approved it, but now we gotta, shouldn't we be the ones taking action first? And that's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Chad, if any of these studies come back negative or whatever, it kind of kills the deal, right?
Well, they mitigate those negative impacts, and they can offset the negative impacts by making the changes that's requested. So if the traffic impact study says you need to make a turn lane, it'll be their job to add a turn lane. If the drainage impact study says you need to make your retention pond twice as large as what you thought you did, then they have to make those changes.
And reduce the density, or reduce the number of lots.
Right.
All kinds of things can be done to make it fit.
Sure.
Or it kills the deal.
Right.
Okay.
If they don't want to agree to make those changes, correct.
Okay.
That's right.
Not to drag this over, you mentioned that, on drainage, if they take area that's within the same watershed, is that almost like wetland mitigation where you pay mitigation for wetlands in one area so that you can develop this area? Is this the same thing you're talking about? When they, can they do something within the same water? Because the watershed can be very large. I mean, the watershed for the Albany River is in both Livingston and Pennington parishes. So within the watershed of Blood River, can they do something on another piece of property and thereby get some type of mitigation on this development?
Yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier, but since the parish doesn't have that current ordinance, there's not a requirement to do that. But you're correct, if they go and take, they have another piece of property that they can take the fill from and bring it to this property and offset that volume, then it would do what you were talking about.
Can they do that now?
They could.
Okay.
It's not a requirement, it's not a requirement for them.
Okay.
Okay, is there any more discussion from the audience on this particular agenda item? Any more from the council? I mean, I don't get to make a motion, but my request would be that the preliminary plat be approved based on the contingents upon it coming back before the council to ensure that we basically agree with the designed and approved drainage study and traffic study. And to be fair to all future developers in Livingston Parish, it would be my request, and I'm just one vote, that the ordinance be changed as soon as possible to, and modified such that all subdivisions come back before the council before the final approval to ensure that we all agree that Livingston Parish is being developed properly. And I reference back to what I stated earlier about a friend of mine whose mama lives on Joe May Road, who did not flood in 2016. Some subdivisions were built in the area. There was a downpour in the June, I think June of 2018 or 17, and she flooded. And to his opinion, it was because of the newly developed subdivision, and the drainage plan not being adequate. So, and that's just my opinion, and everybody's entitled to do what they think's best. So.
Well, look, I'll make a motion. Go ahead and get things going one way or the other, but go ahead and approve the plat map as far as the layout, but request that it go back to planning commission to study the traffic impact and the drainage impact. And let them double check that, look at that again, and then bring it back to the council one more time for final approval.
Couldn't we just send that back to the parish engineer and let them decide about the drainage impact?
Now, if I may, Mr. James,
Go ahead.
if for some reason or another, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chad, if this drainage impact study shows that, let's just say they have to remove a few of these lots and make this retention pond bigger, then it has to come back automatically. So,
Yeah.
does that make sense?
Because you change your.
If this drainage impact
there's any
study
changes.
comes back negative, what they presented on this preliminary, then, and they've got to decrease the number of lots and increase the size of their pond, then it's got to come back to the council, or it goes back to the planning commission.
But that's
and then
only-
on to the council for approval.
But that's only if
That's only if it comes back in a negative way.
and if the change is within a certain percentage or something, it doesn't have to come back.
Well,
If the proposed change or required change is within a certain
Now, something else to
percent
remember.
of the change.
This traffic impact study that we're talking about, Ford and Blau won't do that. There will be traffic engineers, correct? Independently from Fort LeBlanc, that'll do this study on this traffic. So it won't be our engineers that we use. It will be a traffic engineer.
May I speak?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. This is a very important matter.
It is not our objective to step on anyone's foot here or anything, but we brought this forward and asked, please look at our plans and let us know if anything needs to be changed. We follow all regulations. We're willing to do a 100-year storm, mitigation. Our client spent an arm and a leg already because we went to the parish and asked them, are we on the right track? And they said yes. Now, if we would have known any different, we would have said, okay, let's pump the brakes, we'll go ahead and do a wetlands mitigation, if that's a concern. But we were told that we were fine, so,
I appreciate you very much, and I was in favor of approving the preliminary plat based on it coming back before the council for final approval that really wouldn't change anything, but just give me the peace of mind that Livingston Parish is being developed the way I think it should be.
Point of order, I think it was
Yeah,
a motion, but I'm not sure there was a second.
There's a motion, we're gonna repeat it after we get this guy right here.
I guess it died for lack of second.
Well, we're gonna repeat it and think about it, but
Still breathing.
51576 Allen Drive. If we come forth with we abide by all the regulations and everything set forth by Livingston Parish, and I've done other developments as well, and we've abided by all these rules and regulations, and we've already submitted everything, and following the proper processes, we come preliminary approval last night, we come to the council approval tonight. We have to abide, if the subdivision gets approved, we have to abide by these rules and regulations still. We have to do a drainage impact study, we have to do a traffic impact study, it goes back to y'all's engineering, they check everything, they approve everything, it's a process that continues. If it has to go back to the council, well, we're spending all this money already on it. If the subdivision just drags along and doesn't get approved by the proper things that are put forth by y'all, then, is somebody gonna go spend $50,000 to keep doing this stuff and keep developing properties?
Can I speak to that?
sure.
If you submit everything and it goes to you get all the traffic impact study, the drainage impact study, the sewer, and you get all those things, you're gonna get it. It can come back to us, the most you'll have to wait 2 weeks if it falls on Friday. You're gonna get it because we can't stop it.
If it meets the requirements, you're gonna
If
get
it
it.
meets the drainage impact studies and everything, and it's just gonna get approved again. If it doesn't meet those requirements, and we can't meet those requirements, then it's not gonna happen anyway. So,
I agree.
But to spend that money to go do that processing on a maybe is, and that's not is that the law now? I mean,
What I recommended didn't really add anything or change anything. I just wanted it to come back before us so that we could review the study to ensure that we agreed with the results.
On a financial aspect, my question is this: if it comes back to y'all review the study and then everybody votes to deny it after we've already spent, now we'll be spending even more money. There's another chance that it doesn't get approved. So and we're abiding by all the rules and regulations. To change it now seems, it seems like that's not right. I mean, I would ask the district attorney if that's correct. Every other development that's been through here has gotten approved, and why is this any different? I understand that things can be changed, and y'all could do other things, going in the future on more developments, more drainage, allocating funds for gravity drain. I mean, that's a lot of things that y'all do. But for us to get denied on something that, maybe last meeting there's been the same type of developments approved, what's changed between now and then is my question. What's the law here?
I agree with you.
Nothing's
There's
changed
one thing-
other than, go ahead.
There's one thing I'd like to say, and I feel for the people that live over there, I do. But I have the same problem in my district also. But the only thing is, I can't go back and change anything. It's already been passed. And there's quite a few over in that area, on that side of the parish, that's in the process of being built right now. We didn't have an option to change that.
To change that one. We do have the option to change everything else going forward. Not you. You know, but we have to, you can't compartmentalize each thing and go, well, some of my people in my district don't want this. Well, some of your people in your district's not gonna want anything you wanna do. You know, so you have to make the changes and basically give us more power than the developers have. Because right now, we don't have it, in my opinion.
Well,
But yeah, you know.
The subdivisions in my area, you're looking anywhere from 200 to 300 homes going in a subdivision.
Yeah.
So that's a lot.
I'm with you. Same boat.
That's the reason I'm not against zoning.
Yeah.
Help slow that down.
But that.
So do you have a particular question? Just repeat what was the question again? I want to make sure that you're treated fair.
I think,
Your question got answered?
for him. He's worried if he passes everything, gets everything good, it comes back to us that we're gonna deny it.
We can't legally deny it if you meet all the requirements.
That's what I'm saying now. We're meeting the requirements, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. We don't even know what we don't even know what the studies say to ensure that you're meeting the requirements of the study.
Well, we're
That would just
following
be,
the requirements.
it would just be a secondary approval to ensure that you're meeting the requirements of the studies.
But we are following the requirements in place by the parish right now. And that's what we're doing. This would be,
And you're not being denied to move forward if it passes.
I understand that. So we would have to pass now for us to be able to do our traffic impact study, which would tell, y'all have engineers that do all this. If they don't agree with the traffic impact study, well, they can make us change it. I mean, when it goes from here and it goes to everyone else, you know, y'all's people that y'all hire and y'all employ, the parish employees, to make sure that this is all done correctly. And there's engineers that design this. It's not just, you know, we're not just going to dig a hole in the ground and build up some lots. I mean, it's designed by engineers. So that's my simple question is, if we're abiding by the law right now, does the law state that now we have to go back to another vote? Is that what's the law in place now? I believe we're abiding by all the rules and regulations at this time.
At that point, you surely will. I mean, I'm with you on it. I mean, it's.
Okay, so let's move forward.
If anything changes on the plat, it's gonna come back here anyhow.
Only if it's a change that equals to a certain percentage.
5% or something like that, yeah.
I think it's 5.
I thought it was 10.
Which is still
It's
the law.
5?
If it's 5 and he comes in at 4.
What I can say is that I don't remember any coming back before the council for a second approval in the past, so my only thing is none of them have ever been changed.
If they don't meet the ordinance, is it dead?
Yeah.
That's what their job is. That's what we pay these engineers to do. Thank you.
There's been some that came back.
There have been some.
We have had some come
We've
back
had some.
after the preliminary plat was approved.
I don't think so.
I don't remember one, but I could be wrong. My memory's bad. Okay, all I can say is we would treat you just like we treat anybody. I would treat you just like I treat anybody. There's no favoritism here. I just want to make sure that not just this particular subdivision, but every subdivision, I mean, we're talking about changing the way 20 acres within a non-funded gravity drainage district is developed. You see what I'm saying here? I mean, I know that, I don't want to deny anybody their right to do what they want with their property. I'm a property rights kind of guy. I'm just saying, you have to understand that we got to live with this as approvers for the rest of our lives if this is not done correctly, you know? So I just want to stop and make sure that I'm doing everything within my power to make sure that future developments in Livingston Parish are developed properly.
We're
And-
required by y'all's laws to do that.
Since he didn't get a second, I'd like to make a motion.
Okay, so let's, that's a good idea. So let's go ahead and repeat his motion real quick. Let's see if we can get us a second.
I died for a lack of second. I think he's got.
There was not a second on John's motion that I can't remember actually.
It was to send it back to the planning commission, but it died, so it's not ours.
So I want to make a motion. I mean, they are meeting the ordinance. They're doing everything that we're requiring. We pay engineers to review everything that they're going to have to do. So I'm going to make a motion that we accept it as is.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor by Jeff Ard to accept the preliminary plat as is, and we got a second by Tracy Girlinghouse. And since there's no more discussion from the council, is there any more discussion from the audience? No, then I call for the vote.
Okay. Mr. Wascom,
Yes.
Mr. Mack,
No.
Mr. Lobel,
Nope.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Girlinghouse,
Yes.
Mr. Ard.
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4.
4 to 2.
Yeses, so it does pass.
Okay, so I call for a 5-minute recess. I gotta go to the restroom.
Channel 17, proudly serving the Florida parishes.
Go over agenda item number 14. Did Sam already say
He's done.
It's
that
done.
the other agenda items is
Yes.
pulled?
Yeah, they done.
Okay, my bad then. Okay. Okay, agenda item number,
15
I don't know. It's okay.
what, you didn't get to go to the bathroom? My bad. So agenda item number 15 has also been tabled to the next meeting.
Gerald Burns, you will.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Next week.
I got permission first. Okay.
I'm just trying to help you.
Agenda, you're doing fine, Joe. Agenda item number 16. Now, this is an introduction of an ordinance. This is a quitclaim servitude revocation. This is Rhonda Properties LLC. This is at 27793 LA Highway 22, Springfield, Louisiana. Looks like there's multiple people placed this on the agenda. I would like to read the ordinance and then see if we're going to move forward or not.
Where's Mr. Chris?
Does anybody want to read that ordinance?
Can I read it?
Yeah.
Okay, this will be proposed ordinance 19-36. This is an ordinance as follows to wit. Quitclaiming and transferring any and all property interest in favor of Rhonda Properties LLC, a certain 0.2398 acre tract as shown on the survey map by Wallace Adams, dated May the 5th, 1989, and recorded in the office of the clerk for the parish of Livingston and plat book 72, page 72, file number 957832. And the public hearing is at 6:30, November the 21st.
Motion to introduce the ordinance.
We got a motion to introduce this ordinance.
Second.
Got a second? But that motion was made by John Wascom. It was seconded by Tracy Girlinghouse. Is there any discussion from the audience on this particular agenda item? Any from the council?
Nope.
Where's Bubba Harris?
We don't need it.
Is he really out there?
We got another.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No? Okay. Agenda item number 17, this is the approval of a waiver request of section 125-23, building lines of the Code of Ordinances to reduce all side yard building lines to 5 feet in Spring Lake subdivision. This is the 8th filing, and this is in Mr. Jeff Ard's district.
All right. Basically what this is, we have 2 subdivisions that's already pretty much interconnected. They were built by the old building lines, so there's a new section to it that's gonna tie into it. And they just wanna keep it all the same. So they're just asking them a waiver, they'll do it with the old building lines. I have no problem with that because I know I lived in a subdivision where all these are here and all of a sudden the rest of them are way back here, so.
Kind of make it match, make it look
Make it
uniform.
all match, keep it the same.
Okay, so is that a motion
I'll
right
make that
there?
motion.
There's a motion by Jeff Ard, seconded by John Wascom, to approve of a waiver request of section 125-23 building lines of the code of ordinance for this Spring Lake 8 filing. Okay, so is any discussion from the audience? Council? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Nope.
Mr. Bubba, you voted?
Yeah, he said aye. I heard him, I'm right here. 18, agenda item 18, name an unnamed road located off of Oliver Wheat Road.
You're gonna name it.
Blank Lane, it's called Blank Lane.
We just got the.
Blank Lane
this
Road.
afternoon. We had to have the agenda out and we were hoping.
Y'all have a great one.
Liam.
Oh, that's right. It's called-
Liam Lane.
Liam Road, L-I-A-M
We
Road.
had to have 3 choices and that was the one that they approved.
Okay, this is council district number 8. It's L-I-A-M Road.
Liam.
Right by y'all's spot.
Yeah.
We just got it this evening.
Yeah, I'm good with
Is that a motion?
Yep.
We got a motion by Tab Lobel. We got a second by Bubba Harris. Any discussion from the audience? Any from the council? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Nope. I'm going face like Gary Talbot now. 19, discussion and adoption of a resolution to authorize waiver and a variance for LP 19-03 adopted on January 24th, 2019, amending section 13-57, drainage and drainage impact study of the Code of Ordinances that prohibits subsurface drainage. Do we have anything under that? All right, my bad. Okay, so that's nothing there? Nothing to introduce or talk about? Agenda item number 20. Now, this is an introduction to an ordinance. This is new language for the disclosure and notification of pump grinder sewage installation, and this is Mr. Bubba Harris's ordinance. And so what we'll do is we'll go ahead and read this ordinance, and then we'll have a little discussion if needed, and then we'll vote. So go ahead, Zena, when you're ready.
We worked with our attorney, our legal counsel very hard on this. This was a really big deal, so.
Awesome job.
This is proposed ordinance 19-37. This is an ordinance to add section 70-255, notification disclosure of pump grinder sewage installation. The code of ordinances of Livingston Parish by mandating to any prospective purchaser of property the disclosure of a pump/grinder sewerage installation and the requirements thereof. The public hearing is going to be November the 21st at 6:30 p.m.
Excellent. Is there any discussion from the audience on this particular agenda item? Any from the council? Is there a motion by Bubba Harris? Yes. There's a motion by Bubba Harris to introduce this ordinance. There's a second by Jeff Ard. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
I just want to put on the public record, I'm so happy that we have our attorney.
There's no opposes?
Right.
All right, well then we're gonna move on. Agenda item number 21.
No report.
No report on agenda item number 21. This is District Attorney's report. 22, Ordinance Committee. Mr. Gary was absent, but John Wascom did an awesome job
We
filling
met
in.
tonight, discussed, I forgot what we discussed.
There you go. We discussed the speed bump ordinance.
That's right.
And, what else? Mr.
I'm
Bubba?
sorry, it's just been a long night. We got tied up with the speed bump ordinance, and the building got pulled.
Oh, yeah.
The subdivision, we're gonna pull that, wait till Mr. Talbot shows up for that one. I think he's ready.
No decision was really made other than the fact that we need to discuss this further and maybe make some changes or not move forward. One or the other.
Finance committee.
Tracy, you got anything on the finance committee?
Finance committee didn't meet this week.
We didn't meet this week.
Nor we were not supposed to. I think we just didn't show up. It might be like the ordinance committee sometimes.
Yeah, that's right, because Tracy's a great councilman and makes sure that we're meeting when we're supposed to meet. Okay, so councilman comments. Is there any councilman comments?
Yes,
Mr. Bubba Harris has one.
I have a comment. I would like to say thanks to everyone that helped with the trunk or treat, all the businesses. It's just everyone got together and it turned out to be a fantastic trunk or treat this year. I know the weather was bad, it had rained, but they got to where they, I'm a bit boring. But, we had to park on the asphalt, which worked out great. The kids stayed out of the grass and the water, and I just want to thank everyone again.
Awesome time, awesome thing. Does anybody else want to say anything?
Yeah, beat Bama, go Tigers.
Amen.
I got one thing to say if anybody else, if everybody's done. Monday's Veterans Day. We need to remember that. The reason that we can come in here and debate and the reason that this country is as great as it is due to those that have served in the past. And we just all need to remember and be very, very thankful of that.
Next time you start with Mr. Garland's house.
Yeah.
Thank you for your service.
Yep.
And there's one other thing I'm gonna add to that.
Okay.
Is Texas Roadhouse.
Oh, yes.
Monday. It's gonna start at noon. Is going to feed all the veterans. Wow. At no cost.
Yep.
My daughter works there, and she already informed me about it, so
Good.
I will attend Texas Roadhouse.
I'm gonna have to be busy. Ask for her.
Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll second it.
Everybody's done?
Motion to adjourn, Mr. John.
Motion.
Said that, I'm gonna second that.
Motion to adjourn by John Wascom. There's a second by Jeff Hard.
Discussion?
Is there any discussion from the audience? All in favor? Any opposed?